Chapter 7 True Colors. Stress and a hint of dizziness were all I could feel as we continued deeper into the tunnels of this mine. I couldn't look away from Scattershot as we levitated her along. I could feel and sort of see that time was running out. Our earth pony friend here was losing a lot of blood still, and unless we found some obnoxiously strong healing equipment down here, I was fearing for the worst. The dark and gloomy atmosphere of this place did the rest to put me on edge down here.
Stay tough, Scattershot.
Compound was trying to keep her with it while I was looking forward, ready to obliterate anyone who'd stop me, although I'd feel a little out of breath from my previous spell.
New Leaf, you seem to be the kind of girl to, go out with a bang.
She was grinning, but I was sure she was trying to not worry us, or so I thought. My medical expertise was severely limited, to put it mildly, so I didn't know much about her actual state other than what my gut feeling told me. The path up ahead led into a facility of sorts. There was a little rail yard out here with mine carts and other equipment, but no robots to my surprise. A metal door was blocking the path inside to a building, which seemed to be built right into the underground here.
This is not the kind of drink you should order at a bar, Ivy Pony.
Compound levitated some bottle and threw it at said door, and the surface started to bubble and eventually drip down. Must have been some really aggressive acid. You alright? I looked at Scattershot. She was sorta hanging in there.
I'll be right, don't worry too much.
She looked at me and I burst in thought, what was chasing my mind ever since. I'm just worried and I'll do what I can to get you through somehow. Her green head slowly tilted into a firm nod.
Yeah, if I do, I gotta do something for ya.
She looked at me and Compound as we waited a while. After the glowing liquid chewed a more than big enough hole for ponies to fit through, we carefully trotted inside, and being on alert. Who knows what else is down here to stop hostile creatures. The only way here was downstairs, and I was looking out for signs with a plus sign, hoping to find something to patch up Scattershot till we found some professional help. The stairs led into a large corridor, tiled and everything, but surprisingly enough, no evidence of any turrets or such. The air was feeling heavy and had a light stench to it too. But there had to be some sort of medical bay here. I was willing to bet mining accidents could happen any time in an active mine shaft, so they had to be prepared for this stuff in a way. There was a room off to one of the sides, which was very spacious. Many long tables and chairs, a bar at the far end. This had to be some sort of dining room. Pretty sure our meal, though, was better than anything this bar could serve right now. And what we needed was certainly not going to be something we'd find here. Where in Celestia's flank would they hide a place to heal ponies in this old facility? I thought loudly as we left the room, trotting down the corridor. To the left, more stairs downward. To the right, another large room. I concluded they would have moved the medical bay far from the ruckus of a food hall and the entrance, so I had to guess that the stairs were the right choice. I think we have to go this way, girls. I looked at Compound while levitating Scattershot behind us. Scattershot's breathing got heavier. I could hear her clearly. It was hard to not think of the worst case right now, but my mind's attention sprung right back into action as we went downstairs, and got greeted by the familiar beeps of a turret with a machine gun barrel stuck on the ceiling above us. I decided to greet it back with a rather strong lightning attack, frying its circuits and getting a precautionary shield up. One explosion later, the coast was clear.
Say, New Leaf, who taught you all that stuff?
Scattershot was mumbling, sorta half with it, looking at me. I looked into her eyes and smiled, thinking back. The chapters of my past all had one thing in common. No matter what I was after, I went after it with heart and determination, and my magical abilities may be the most prominent example of that. While we trotted past some rooms filled with century-old beds and showers, I started to tell Compound and Scattershot about how regular teachers had taught me most of the stuff they knew, so any new knowledge either came from things I was told to not look at, or from the rulers, who weren't always happy with my ideas.
But I have to tell you, though, that I learned a lot about this world, putting it all together. It gave me a lot of insights on how to focus my strengths, and I do wish to pass that message on to any pony I meet, to be yourself and follow your heart. Do what you feel like doing, you know?
I got it, Green. Especially nowadays, ain't rules what you make 'em. And well, no one can nail you down and tell you what to do or not do.
Scattershot was nodding in agreement, while looking over to me, while I held her in midair.
Better go down giving it your all than live in a century of self-blame.
My attention was on the rooms here, in this housing area. Watching for turrets, watching for rooms with any signs of medical purpose, and getting all three of us out in one piece. My mission was to restore Equestria. However, it dawned to me, by looking at them, remembering the time spent, that it would help working together with every pony in a way. The path ahead forked, left or right. To the left, I could only tell there were lots of computers, racks with folders, and technical shenanigans. Nothing I had time for now.
Thanks. You too.
I heard Scattershot breathe deeply. I could feel that time was running out. Turning right at the fork, we found a room off to the left side of a corridor with stretchers and medical chairs. We trotted inside quicker than one might expect a group of exploring ponies to do. And we started to look around, but found a very smelly and nasty surprise on one of those stretchers, as it had the rotting bones of a pony on them. But the highlight was a door in this room behind a counter here. I'd probably give a hind leg or two for something we could use from there to heal Scattershot with. Inside, Compound hastily started opening drawers, cabinets, and everything within her grasp. Not much but old bottles, but we did find some clean bandages from one of them. This was a storage of sorts, as it seemed. I almost let out a squeal, loud enough to wake a bugbear. A flask with light blue liquid? I had a hunch what this was, but I wasn't sure.
Is this what I think it is?
I showed Compound something, which I presumed to be the infamous Hydra blood. Compound gazed at the bottle, and her levitation magic stopped, dropping a bottle or two in the process she was holding.
Let's see.
She took a sniff after pulling a cork out.
Hydra. Blood.
Compound gasped and looked at Scattershot. She was still breathing, but still looking more alive than dead if I had to make a gut instinct judgment. My ears perked up as I heard growls. Ghouls, as I suspected. Ponies who had met a fate worse than death. Radiation ensured that natural death was no threat to them, but in turn cursed them with loss of losing their mental capabilities, making them watch as they attack anything without being able to do anything, like a prisoner locked into a corpse.
Goddesses, damn it.
Compound ducked down, and I could see her panic as she was looking around. But I was cool and calm as I always was.
Feed the Hydra's blood to her, dear. I'll blast whomever wants through this door.
I looked at Compound before placing Scattershot onto one of the stretchers in the very same room.
Please be safe.
Scattershot and Compound managed to speak in unison and looked at another and smiled. They were both adorable as heck, even if you were here amongst all places and about to be ambushed. I closed the door, stepping outside, while chugging my wizardry potion. This was do or die, and dying was a win for those ghouls, who had no longer control of their own self. The growling got louder, and hoof steps turned into quick gallops as I threw the empty bottle into the hallway. The herd of ghouls started barreling closer and took a turn towards where I was standing at. Horn glowing, mind sharp,
determination, engaged. Their large garbles and green goo leaking bodies. They were alive and well at some point, but weeping was something I had to postpone here. I cast a quick array of fireballs at them, aiming very carefully and deadly as I could. 7 ponies is how many I counted. 4 very precise headshots quickly dropped the first 4, probably frying anything resembling a brain that they had, and thus ending their torment. The 3 remaining ponies had managed to squeeze their way into the room where I was standing, ready to cast a different kind of spell, known as the optical shot. 2 orbs of fire were circling me, 1 red, 1 blue, like yin and yang, good for defending yourself, but even better for blasting something in style. I launched both of those fireballs at the 3 remaining ponies, making the fireballs fly and scatter through the room and piercing their heads before extinguishing themselves after a few moments. The growls were silenced, and this room had become a mess of ghoul guts and blood, as their bodies dropped to the floor. These souls at least now had a chance to pass in peace. But I would lie if I'd say something like this didn't serve as a workout. I loved practicing my magic after all. I opened the door behind me, looking at the girls.
He's really sweet. And yet, you can't deny he's freaking savage when he's in the soul like this.
Compound, seemingly talking about me, and Scattershot nodded firmly, with a muzzle open wider than a mug of cider. I blushed brightly. My mouth became a modest grin, along with my ears dropping down. And to my surprise, Scattershot was sitting and not lying anymore.
More than a lot of cults I know. I feel like my body's patching itself up.
Scattershot looked at me, astounded as much as I was. I heard the stuff could bring ponies from the brink of doom, but it was a lot more breathtaking to see.
I do see. A little wobbly now. It's like being on drugs and drunk from some nasty drink. I kinda like it.
Scattershot hugged me tightly, and Compound soon joined in.
New Leaf, you're a pretty badass pony.
Compound licked my cheek, praising me, and I didn't know how she managed to see me, but a self-face of later, I realized there was a window here to see right through. But I found Scattershot's green hoof on my muzzle and blushed brightly as she stared at me.
You just saved a pony's life. No need to be modest, Leaf. You're the real deal, and I'm not accepting any buts, you know.
Scattershot looked at me, grinning. I couldn't speak against it, and knew she was right.
Me neither.
Compound stuck her tongue out at me. I always struggled at giving myself a pat on the back when I did something great, and was great at giving myself fault on something I had no hoof with. I just nodded. Okay, you two, and ducked my head down, ears folding back.
I do think some medical ponies gotta play pony-trony on me and take out those bullets.
Scattershot was looking at herself and probably amazed at the Hydra Blood's effect. Bucks described it like a plug, healing superficial wounds really quickly, but stuff stuck inside, well, that medicine also had some side effects on top of that. But nothing outside of feeling a little seasick, really, as a book I've read before described it. We got our things together and left the medical wing here, along with a few other potions, most of which I've never seen in action before, but Compound was all for it.
I could probably sell some of these, or mix them together to mix even more tasty brews.
She winked at me as we trotted back into the hallway. But instead of turning back the way we came, we decided to go deeper. The end of the hallway led into a room with a desk, a big monitor, old and rotting furniture. This must have been where those ghouls came from. There were bite marks on the sofa here, and quite a few skeletons, along with a small pistol and bullets on the ground here.
I hope this ain't what it looks like. Poor fellas.
Scattershot bowed down and quickly picked up the pistol I spotted and looked at me.
New Leaf, I'd feel like a rotten egg if I didn't show you how to wield one of those.
I nodded and levitated it to inspect it closer.
Okay, where do those nasty bullets get into?
I started to levitate it by pulling on various parts. The back end was loose, but not where I thought those bullets went to, apparently.
Open that compartment at the bottom and slide 'em in.
I did as instructed, and the pistol made a clicky sound when I put them in. Then I slid it into my saddlebag. Behind the desk was an old terminal of sorts, and a small box, which was surprisingly not locked or protected. I started pushing random buttons on the keyboard until the monitor of the terminal sprung to life. What it had to show was a list of reports. Monthly report 138. 127 loads of vividium harvested. Creature encounters 10. Ponies killed 13. I scrolled down a bit further. Monthly report 145. 136 loads of vividium harvested. Creatures encountered 27. Ponies killed 3. Extracting vividium from the ground and smelting possibly emits radiation. I continued scrolling down to the last entry, which was 149, titled Finally Monthly Report. 56 loads of vividium harvested. Creature encounters 1. Ponies killed 40. Trapped down here like rats by something the size of a whale. Most ponies either died to it or suffered fatal radiation levels, as it was revealed last month. Only 6 of us are alive now. Celestia hope someone gets us out. If someone is reading this, then probably not. Boss was happy getting this much viridium to Manhattan, since ponies needed it there. Said they were working on making some kind of army with the stuff that could take over this land by force. We all served best to our knowledge, and love and miss our families. It feels like we are soon with them, after all.
Hidden army?
Compound was questioning the words here.
Radioactivity and angry critters?
Scattershot also added her own thoughts.
You can't take Equestria by force. Every creature who ever tried that only brought us more harm than anything.
I burst out in thought, but what I wondered was who was recipient of something so malicious and had these kinds of intentions. I looked around for any clue, but I only had to scroll down. Ministry of Morale, Manhattan, is who apparently was noted as recipient at the bottom of the last report. The mayor who ran this specific ministry did always have a way of taking crazy a little far, and I love crazy, but during the final days of the war, she went overboard, as a lot of reports from her close friends suggested, but I wondered just how far this idea went. There was rarely any limit to the ruthlessness to some deeds in the wasteland, when some ponies went to grab some power for themselves. Other parts of what we were shown were password protected, but none of us knew how to hack, unfortunately. Even magic didn't solve that kind of obstacle, but a Ministry of Morale building in Manhattan was a pretty solid clue on where to go if we wanted to know more about this plan. Scatter was furiously pressing some of those buttons, trying to guess the password, but to no avail.
Come on, you bucking contraption. But, wonder if there's more here. I got something.
Compound opened a drawer on the desk and found a disc inside of a case.
Jackpot.
She sung loudly and put it into her saddlebag.
We will probably need to find some hacker pony you can decrypt and play what's on here.
I concluded while looking at the 2 fillies. I was happy they were with me. Just seeing them around me made me realize how lucky I was being with them. I like them quite a lot.
So, how do we find a place in Manhattan anyway? Sounds like a long travel.
Compound looked at me, and I could only nod. Getting there on hoof would take us a few days, but I did want to stop at my cave, and at Septic's before we took off towards there. Get some supplies and all.
Oh, Scatter. So, you think you want to stay with us, or you think he's stump monster still, huh?
Compound looked at Scattershot and stuck her tongue out and pointed at me. The mare I've only known for little more than a day rolled her eyes and smiled at us.
A new day. Would I want to leave a sweet and lovable bunch like you do? Might sound weird, but getting to meet you two in the way we did might have been the best thing that could have happened to me.
She put a hoof around each of us and hugged, very, very closely, and we group snuggled, enjoying another's company. After our moment of closeness and hugging, we slipped our saddlebags on tightly, ready to retrace our steps and loot this place thoroughly, taking anything that we deem valuable. Back through to the nursery, we'll be snooping around, through some cabinets and closets until I heard a,
I found treasure.
I turned around, seeing Compound looking at me and booping my nose.
Got it.
I blushed and kissed the hoof that she held against my muzzle. Love you, dear. I blushed, letting my tongue talk whatever my mind had to say.
Love you too, sweetie.
Compound gave me a tongue kiss. Boy, did that feel amazing in many ways. And I felt like Scattershot also started developing feels for, well, both of us. But I wasn't exactly sure. All I knew is our bonds could take us to the moon and back if you wanted to. And saving Equestria together felt like the easiest thing ever if we stuck together. But I knew we had to take this one step at a time, and uncovering what we found today felt like a pretty big leap towards a brighter future.